You see this? This is the face of someone who was unbelievably wrong about Ready Player One. Oh my god, I just saw it. Oh my god, it was unbelievable. I actually started feeling a little angry through the movie that I had kind of put it through the ringer at such capacity, and I got a lot of people maybe to not go and see it. And I apologize, I'm retracting it right now. This movie is great, it's good, it's... So if you guys are new to this channel, you may not know about my previous video that I made where I basically outlined a spec script that I got sent that basically highlighted that Ultraman wouldn't be in the film, and he's not. Unfortunately, there's a lot of combining effects that went into this. The right holders, maybe it just wouldn't really impact American audiences as much, but I mean, the way that they do it in the movie, they have a Japanese character, Daito, change into something else in place of Ultraman. So it's not even Wade who uses the transformation Hayabusa capsule. And that character is Japanese, so I feel like he would definitely be more like, I want to take on the symbol of Japan, basically. Like, while we're on the character Daito, what's actually really funny is in the book, spoiler alert, he gets killed. He gets killed very much like Wade's family does in the stacks. Bad guy comes in, kills him. But at the end of this movie, we actually get to see him and Shoto in real life. And I was watching the movie and this guy like looks so familiar. I'm like, who the hell plays Daito? And I got on Facebook and someone posted this. And I was like, what the f? He's doing a Kamen Rider pose. Like, that's literally double. Heaven's Tornado. He's the dancer from the Heaven's Tornado episode, and he's in Ready Player. There's some other stuff that we're gonna get into later in this video that's gonna get into spoiler territory, but I just want to kind of say this for people that may dip out before we get into there. If you haven't seen the movie, go see it before you watch the rest of this video. But before we get to that part, I literally feel like somebody in charge saw my video, just absolutely had a grudge against me and just was like, I'm gonna make him like this movie whether he likes it or not. I'm just gonna put all this into it that's like not fixing the main problem that I had with the movie coming up and out and what it was doing, but like, I'm gonna just really excel everywhere else for this kid, and oh, they did. All right, this is the point where if you haven't seen the movie or if you just don't care, spoilers ahead. This is kind of a review that I'm gonna do, just really quick. It's on my brain. I just wanted to kind of make a quick retraction video, and I'm gonna extrapolate a little bit more on it. So instead of getting Ultraman, some people were telling me that like, oh, it's gonna be Gundam instead, and I was like, how do you know? He's in one trailer, in like one shot. It could be Tracer for all we know. She was in the trailer. She was in like all of the trailers. Like, why aren't they gonna transform into Tracer, huh? You know, that was a big thing that Holiday, the main guy from the 80s who built the Oasis, the video game, would have enjoyed, right? Overwatch characters. Anyway, instead of Ultraman, we do get Gundam. So Daito, who isn't dead in the movie, at the end, he's kind of sitting out the end fight, and he chooses his moment, and he selects Gundam. He selects the Gundam, and he jumps into battle, and he basically fights off, which I was also surprised against this as well, Mechagodzilla. So in the spec script that I also wrote, I think I didn't really say it in a video, but I like in a couple comments, the main villain that they had was one of the worst conceived things I had ever read on paper. The movie's made by Warner Brothers, and so the end villain, instead of it originally being Mechagodzilla, it was this formation of like Sauron and Voldemort, and it just didn't make any sense until you think about it like, oh, it's Warner Brothers, just, you know, like... But no, the movie actually had Mechagodzilla, like, he was in the movie. It was awesome, and then he's fighting a Gundam. Okay, it would have been way cooler as Ultraman, but I was still like geeking out. I was still like going at it, and like I went to the movie alone, and there was this other girl that was like sitting like one seat over from me who was also there by herself. I thought maybe her like boyfriend or husband or whatever was like grabbing some snacks, but she rocked that whole movie alone by herself. And when this moment happened, when he jumped out of the airship and transformed into Gundam, I like saw it in the corner of my eye, and I like took a look at her, and she was like this in her chair, like, ah. So, you know, it was a really good scene. It was really fun. It was really good. I was surprised. But back onto the other point I was making, where somebody in charge literally went out of their way to make this movie enjoyable for me. Like, I can't believe this happened in the movie, but in the book, to get to challenge 2, to get the second key, to get the Jade key, they had to play through a movie. So they had to basically go through the movie and say all the lines verbatim. And the movie that they had to go through was War Games. The whole book kind of, you know, is like really highlighting 80s stuff. The movie surprisingly hit a lot of that stuff, and it was great. But they didn't get War Games rights for it, and the spec script that I read, they were doing Blade Runner. That's what it was previously proposed. And I was like, okay, Blade Runner's fine. You guys just had a new movie come out. But the thing was, it wasn't Blade Runner, and it wasn't War Games. I remember very vividly handing the book off to my best friend at the time and saying, read this. It had just come out, and I was like, just put it in his hands. I was like, I'm not gonna let you do anything until you read this book. At least get through like half of it before you tell me you don't want to read anymore. And he, you know, next 2 days read the whole thing. And we both came to the same conclusion that War Games is like okay for the book, but like if this was gonna be made into a movie, it needs to be something way crazier. And so he was like proposing, like he said Blade Runner, you know, he said some of these other ones, but I was like, you know what, if it was War Games, I probably wouldn't get past that challenge without cheating or like having to watch the movie a couple hundred times. The movie that I would be really good at if it was in the 80s would be The Shining. And the movie had The Shining in it. Like it... And if you guys know me, that is actually my favorite movie. I have a poster on the wall of The Shining. Like it is my favorite film. And they... Ultraman, thank you for putting The Shining in. Seeing them standing in the Stanley Hotel. I think I scared a few people because I literally screamed because the movie was sort of hinting at what movie was going to come up, and they're all circling around the characters. And the way that they were describing it, it was like the creator hates the movie, and I was like, that'd be really cool if it was The Shining. You know, and it was just like in the back of my mind, and I saw the yellow cover floating, and I was like, don't you f***ing do this to me, movie, don't you? And then Parzival turns around, and it's there right in his face, and he's like, of course, it came out that weekend, The Shining, and they just, oh, it was so good. Moving on. The pacing and everything about this movie was so on point. There's problems that I have with the book, like some of the characters don't talk like real people. Like I feel like Halliday, who was a very recluse, shut-in, kind of wrote this book too, and Ernie Klein. Sorry man, you're similar, and I think like you drew a lot of inspiration for that, and the movie nailed his character perfectly. And everybody just is a better fleshed out character in this movie than they were in the book, and you know, that's not a bad thing. Like The Shining, I think the movie totally capitalizes on this potential and really like just lets it go wild, and it was great. And I actually had a couple tears going because at the end of the movie when Halliday says, thanks for playing my game, and he leaves, like that just, it blew my mind that the scope of what he had done, like the lives that he had changed, all he cared about because he was so disconnected to everything was that somebody enjoyed playing his game. That's amazing. The other thing that I noticed that I initially remarked on in the video that I made before were the challenges. So in the book, the very first challenge was playing a game of Joust against a Lich King on the starting planet. Now the starting planet is like where everybody goes to school, but then after school hours are over, they can jettison, go off and have adventures. But Wade, being very poor, being very, you know, is stuck on this planet. He can't do anything, and that's where Halliday hid the first key. So anybody, no matter where they come from, could get that. He gets money, he can go off and do whatever. So that really spoke to me. And reading it in the script that they changed it to a car race scene, I was like, okay, that kind of defeats the purpose. But it doesn't. The way that they did it in the movie versus the script is they showcase everybody wanting to get this prize. The Grunters, the Sixers, everybody is still fighting for it 5 years later. They've been doing this race for a couple years now, losing day after day after day after day. And it just like, it made more sense to like have it very publicly known. Like it was a very easy one to find, but it was maybe potentially the hardest one to pass. And then of course they really highlighted the fact that you have to go backwards. But it was great when it happened, and I felt like this swelling when Parzival won that I don't often feel in movies. Like, I felt like I had accomplished something. Like, I felt like I was a part of the ride, and that's very rare in a movie, and they nailed that. But what I noticed in the books is that the challenges go from easy to medium to hard, being, you know, in terms of the scope of things. The movie did it backwards, which was really cool when I started thinking about it, where they have this huge event, and then it's kind of this smaller event, and then it's literally just, like, I literally want to cosplay that guy that's just like in the IOI uniform, just doing this, and just go around conventions, and when people take photos of me, I'm just, he's my favorite character. He's playing that game for like literally 30 minutes. It was good. But all the other characters are just, like I said, fleshed out. They're so good. I'm glad that they all got brought together. And the one thing that I didn't realize was a problem in the book until I saw it in the movie done better was in the book, when Wade kind of, it's over a couple months instead of, you know, just like maybe a week or two. Wade kind of goes through a lot of life changes. He's overweight, he gets skinnier, he gets fitter, he gets more like his avatar. And those are kind of cool things that I kind of wish were included in the movie somewhere, but I understand how they can't in only like a week or two of in time. But then Ogden, the co-creator of the Oasis, actually takes the high fives, the remaining ones, in, and they're in his like secret house mansion, whatever, and they're fighting against the IOI. And I was like, okay, you know, it didn't occur to me that that was a terrible thing, and the movie really just made it better, because they basically bring all of these characters together that are fighting the same thing. They show this rebellion, they show it on the streets, and they show how everybody's basically fighting their own fight. And after the thing wipes out everybody and everybody's just like on the street watching Parzival, you know, play the game and unlock the last Easter egg, it really just highlighted it to me that like having them brought to Og's mansion and like playing kind of like secretly away from the world like they do in the book just defeats the purpose, that it's a community, that it's, you know, all of these people together. In that very last scene where they're in the stacks surrounded by all these people, it was amazing. Like, that also brought a little tear to my eye. It was so good. It was so well written, and bringing him in at the end, of course, and then giving us that reveal that he had been there the whole time, handled much better, much better. All in all, I was very impressed with the movie. I think it's, I'm gonna have to go see it a couple times. I maybe do another video that's after I've seen it a couple times and I can nitpick it a little bit more. But like, literally, I walked into this movie and the first 5-10 minutes, I was just kind of sitting there with my arms crossed, you know, kind of cringing, just like waiting for something to like kind of just slap me across the face. And as terrible as like the marketing has been for this movie and how cringy and god-awful it's been, like, this movie is really good. I'm shook, and I'm gonna just publicly say it that like I am totally okay with them not having Ultraman in it, because everything else works really better. I think the movie would have been better with it in there, because that's something that's close to me. It's probably close to you guys if you're watching that. But I understand why they couldn't have it in there, and I'm not holding it against Spielberg, as my other title would suggest. You know, they made amends to do other things. Casting this actor as Daito, who was in Kamen Rider, who I feel like doing something like that is a lot more worthwhile than these shallow, on the surface references. Like seeing Tracer run in a crowd, okay, cool, whatever. Seeing a Battletoad, okay, cool. But like having these references that people maybe don't get or understand, but kind of link back to other things, is kind of what makes the movie more interesting and appealing. And I'm gonna have to see it, you know, once or twice more to kind of fully soak all that in. But hey man, if you got the time this weekend, if you got the spare cash and you want to go see a really fun, kick-ass movie that actually doesn't hit you over the head and slap you across, what was I saying? That kind of scared me. It's not as bad as the trailers and everything else makes it seem. Like, it, honest to God, like, it is so pure, it is so honest. It's really good. I feel dirty that I like made that last video. But like the script that I got, the script that everything about it just didn't, oh. And if you guys can make a movie out of this that is that good, I can't wait to see what you guys do with this, the better of his books. I'm saying it right now, Armada is better. It's got a better structure and everything. It even ended with a rape joke, which they didn't have in the movie. Thank you. Like, it was bad. Anyway, go see this movie, please. Reach out to me on Twitter. I'm at Squall Charlson. Let me know what you thought of it. I want to kind of continue a conversation going on there. I just want to know what everybody thought about it. I want to know what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it. So drop me a note there if you guys would be so kind. And be sure to check out some of these other videos that I did, you know. Like, they're kind of fun. Like, I did this Tokusatsu video game one, put so much time into it. I don't think, like, only a couple people have seen it. So you could be one of those first few people that see it and enjoy it and share it around. Show it to your mother, even if she doesn't understand it. I might go see it again tonight.